Can you be good without God? The question isn't, can you be good without believing in God? The question is, can you be good without God? Without some objective reference point, there is no way of saying that something is really up or really down. If there is no God, what basis is there for objective, good or bad, right or wrong? If God does not exist, objective moral values do not exist. God's nature provides an objective reference point for moral values. It's the standard against which all actions and decisions are measured. If there's no God, there's no objective reference point, and all that remains is one person's viewpoint against another person's viewpoint. This kind of morality is subjective and not objective. It's like a preference for a cat over a dog. The preference is in the subject, meaning the person, not the object, the cat or the dog, so it doesn't apply to others in the same way. Subjective morality applies only to the subject, and it's not valid or binding for anyone else. God has expressed his moral nature to us as commands. These provide the basis for moral duties. For example, God's essential attribute of love is expressed in his commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. This command provides a foundation upon which we can know the object of goodness, such things as generosity, self-sacrifice, and equality. And we can also condemn as objectively evil greed, abuse, and discrimination. Now this raises a problem. Is something good just because God wills it? Or does God will something because it is good? The answer is neither one. Instead, God wills something because God is good. God is the standard of moral values, just as an original is the standard for a copy. The closer the copy is to the original, the better. In the same way, the more closely a moral action conforms to God's nature, the better it is. If atheism is true, there is no ultimate standard, so there can be no moral obligations or duties. Who or what has the authority to tell us what these duties are? No one. For the atheist, humans are just accidents of nature, highly evolved animals. But animals have no moral obligations to one another. When a cat kills a bird, it hasn't done anything morally wrong. The cat's just being a cat. If God doesn't exist, we should view human behavior in the same way. No action should be considered morally right or morally wrong. The problem is, good and bad, right and wrong, do exist. Just as our senses convince us that the physical world is objectively real, our moral experience convinces us that moral values are objectively real. Every time you say something like, "Hey, that's not right, that's wrong," you affirm your belief in the existence of objective morals. I'm sure we can all agree that child abuse, racial discrimination, and terrorism are wrong for everybody, always. Is this just a personal preference or opinion? No, because the man who says that it's morally acceptable to rape little children is just as wrong as the man who says 9 plus 10 equals 21. What all this amounts to then is a moral argument for the existence of God. If God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist. But objective moral values and duties do exist. Therefore, God exists. Atheism fails to provide a foundation for the moral reality every one of us experiences every day. In fact, the existence of objective morality points us directly to the existence of God. Therefore, God exists.